Hi everyone, in this tutorial we are going to learn about JavaScript variables and functions. Variables are containers for storing number, string, or a reference of an object. First of all, let's create a div with an ID name box. I already linked this HTML page to the style sheet and I took out the default margin of the body. Let's select the div with the ID name box. And I'm going to add a few styles. We are going to add more HTML elements here. And I'm going to import a script file here so that our script can control the HTML elements above. We don't have a script file yet, so why don't we create it? I'm going to create JS folder and script.js file at once. Okay, let's test the script file is linked correctly. Okay. Let's bring the div with the ID name box into JavaScript by using getElementById. Please remember we use camel cases instead of dash. Also, the value and unit should be wrapped with quotation marks. Okay, let's also try to change the content in div. We are going to do some simple arithmetic with variables, and so with this method we are going to display the result on the page. Okay, let's try to use a variable. Variable can be declared with var, but it's actually outdated method, so let's just use let instead of var. You could understand the syntax like let number be 10. Let's see what's stored in the variable number. Let's assign 15 instead. You can also assign a floating point number. A variable can store a text content too. In other languages, this is called integer value, which is a whole number. This data type is float in other languages, which is a floating point number once again. However, in JavaScript, we don't differentiate between them. We just consider they are just numbers. And the data type for text we call string, the same. In the example code we already shared, you can find variable folder and you will be able to see diverse ways of declaring variables. Please try to make the variable names descriptive so that your code can be much more intuitive for others and for yourself as well. You can use single or double quotation marks for string values. There are also Boolean values. We are going to learn about this Boolean data type when we learn about conditionals. We just try to use the variables, right, and learn about data types. Let's discuss in detail about how to declare and initialize and call the variables with the variable name. If you type let and variable name, the computer will create a memory space with the variable name. The data type is not yet specified since we didn't put any value, so the value is now undefined. This is how to declare a variable. Okay, let's try to put a value inside of the memory space. The variable name number is an identifier right now to access the memory space. The equal sign is called a sign operator. It doesn't mean equal to. Since we put a value for the first time, this is initialization of the variable. The data type of the variable will be determined by the value we put. The number value 100 is stored in the variable number and it can be accessed with the variable name number as well. This can be seen weird, but it's very common in programming. So you get the value 100 and do arithmetic plus 50 and store the result to the number variable again. We just talked about how to declare and initialize and use the variables. Since we just talked about an operator addition, so let's talk about the other operators as well. By the way, you can declare and initialize at the same time. When you use these operators, be careful with the order of operations. You can find more examples about the order of operation in the example code we already shared. Okay, let's talk about string concatenation. If you do an addition between string and number, the number value will be converted to string. Try to guess the result we get. It's weird, right? It's because we did string concatenation between string and number first, and it became string, and we added 5 to the string value. However, with the braces, we can change the order of operation. Numbers will be calculated first and will be added to the string. Please take a look at more example codes in the example code we already shared. Let me show you more practical examples. Let's apply the pixel value to the actual font size. Once again, change the dash to camel cases. We can also try EM font unit. Let's also play with color as well. CSS property name to camel cases. RGB value can be inserted as number values, right? Let's do string concatenation between string and numbers RGB. This seems very alien and cumbersome, but definitely this would be fun. It works great, right? These are strings. And these are numbers. Okay, we just talked about string concatenation. And let's talk about how to get a reference of an object with variable. We are seeing some repetition of code, right? I think I would like to avoid this repetition. What about we create a variable named mybox and store the HTML element, which is a JavaScript object, into the variable. And let's organize our code. It will be much better. It's cleaner and more convenient, right? Around this time, you might be curious about why we are styling with JavaScript instead of CSS. It's because we can add interactivity with JavaScript. The styles can be manipulated by users' interaction. Okay, let's try to add such interaction with button. Okay, now the style is based on CSS since we moved the styling with JavaScript into a function. Then if we click the button change, the style written in JavaScript will be applied. Let me create 3 more buttons. I would like to change RGB value individually. This time I'm gonna write slightly differently. This is exactly the same operation, but it's a shorter way to write it. Please remember this operator. We are gonna use this one very frequently. Although we press a lot, the color never changes, right? Let's debug with console log. As you can see, RGB values are changing very correctly. So this line should be executed to update the background color of the div. So we can just call this function change after updating RG or B value. Those values are too high. Let's set those values properly. Maybe black or 0. In the same way, we can also change the position values as well. I'm just removing percentage values so that we can see the position changes clearly. The left property can be considered as a x value. I believe update position function is prepared. Now we can just update x and y value based on the user interaction. Whenever we update x and y value, those x and y values should be applied to the left or top styles. Let me organize the code a little bit. But also the function name change should be more descriptive. So I'm gonna change the function name to change color. Let me quickly rearrange those buttons as well. I organized my code is because I wanted to introduce new tag, which is input. This would be hardly used for your main project, but I thought that this can be an interesting interaction method. So you can receive text input from a user. I'm gonna add one more button, like a submit button, so that the two input values can be grabbed and then utilized. There is a typo, I'm gonna fix that soon. Okay, let's check with console window first. Let's not forget adding the unit pixel. Great. Lastly, I would like to introduce a really interesting operator, modulo. Here is the problem. If we keep pressing the button red, it will access the maximum range of color, which is 255. We can easily resolve this issue with if statement. We are going to learn about that next class. But just for now, what about we use modulo instead? Let's check the value first with console window. Interestingly, it starts from the small number again. If I explain it just simply, it returns remainder from a division calculation. I will write down a few examples. Hopefully it would make sense. Okay, let's apply to the background color then. I'm going to declare 3 new variables here. And I will apply them to inner HTML and to background color property. Okay, I think it's ready. Let's try. I wanted to discuss about the differences between global and local variables. So these are global variables. These variables can be accessed anywhere in this code. However, these three are local variables declared in this scope. So it will only last in the scope and it will be removed after the curly bracket. So every time we trigger the function change color, we declare 3 variables and then use it and remove it, and we repeat the same process. Let's try to confirm it with console log function. So when we trigger the function, those variables are declared and we can access the variable in the scope. However, we place the console log code outside of the scope. It will return the error it's not defined. I would understand this is still confusing, but we definitely revisit this concept with other examples. Finally, I'm going to show you another practical example utilizing these concepts. So please watch. First of all, I'm going to clear out the entire sketch and then restart. We haven't developed a JavaScript function yet. How about we insert a number variable here? Since I'm gonna use modulo, it would be great if it starts from 0. So I'm gonna change the file names. We can calculate this only once and store in our variable and use multiple times. This is it. Thank you everyone for your attention. I haven't talked about parameters in a function. Let me talk about that later in an additional tutorial. Thanks once again. Bye bye.